Alrighty. So, haven't been making a lot of videos. What is there to make a video on? I'm sitting at my house because of USA Truck's lies. Um, so they lied to me about trainer availability. They said that there would be absolutely no wait period on a trainer. Well, here I am sitting at home waiting. Um, Friday is their earliest estimation. Now, if I remember correctly, this is how Sheila, she's the senior driver manager. I'm assuming that she's the manager over the driver managers. This is what she told me Friday. This is how she came to Friday. Is that I think she said that the current student that Miguel has is expected to complete training on Wednesday, and then Miguel is going to take home time, and she's expecting him to take 2 to 3 days home time, and that's how she came up with Friday. So if it just so happens that their loads don't match up to where he can get the student off the truck on Wednesday, which is highly likely, or he ends up taking more than 2 days home time, then it could be longer than expected. So let's go through a few of the lies before I go ranting about this this packet that they gave me. This is the training packet. It has my driver managers, 2 driver managers, and then the senior driver manager Sheila listed on it. I don't know which one of them is my driver manager, if any. I'm not actually assigned to anyone in I'm a USA Truck employee officially right now. I can log into the employee website and it has unknown listed as my driver manager. I'm not officially assigned to anyone yet. So what did they lie to me about that I can remember so far? The pay. That's kind of big. That's a big lie. They told me I'd be making 42 cents a mile when I got my own truck after training. Well, they made me sign a paper in orientation saying I was only getting 40 cents a mile, which is the per diem pay amount. And I told them I didn't want to do the per diem pay. They take 2 cents away from you if you do per diem pay. So they found a way to screw me out of that 2 cents anyway. The recruiter told me that it was just a mistake on her part. She was looking at the wrong region when she quoted me. She was looking at the Midwest instead of the South. She lives in Van Buren, Arkansas. I live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It's like 200 miles away. She knows where Oklahoma is at on a map. How does she screw up and know that Oklahoma is not in the South region? She has a map right there on her desk. Oklahoma, South region. Like, she is sitting there looking at it and playing dumb to me. She apologized many times about lying to me, saying that it was just an honest mistake. They also lied to me about, like I mentioned at the very beginning, trainer availability. I wouldn't have to wait on a trainer. I'm going to be waiting a minimum of a week and a half for a trainer, maybe more. They had plenty of smokers available, but I'm not going to get in a truck with a smoker. And I was just sitting here reading through this training packet that they gave me that has all kinds of stuff, like rules and requirements, like things like no one is to be in the top bunk while the truck is moving. You are required to report any issues immediately to a driver manager if if the trainer does anything illegal, against company policy or FMCSA rules or regulations or DOT violations or anything like that, or if there are any issues on the truck, you're required to report them immediately. This is just them having an out that if you report it after the fact, then they can blame it on you because you didn't report it immediately. You let it escalate. It's your problem now. You didn't report it when it happened. Well, what if I didn't think it was that big of an issue when it happened? I'm the student. I don't really know. Like, I'm the one being trained on what's, right and wrong. So here are some other really big lies. I'm reading through this paperwork, which I found it to be the norm, that USA Trucks, what they have in writing doesn't match up with what they tell you. And it's a real crapshoot on which one's the truth. So some of the things like that I called the recruiter on, because their website has an orientation document that states that bus is the only mode of travel to get to orientation. Well, recruiting told me that no, they would give me a rental. Every person in my orientation drove a rental car. Every single person drove a rental car. So that wasn't some exception they made for me. Number two thing was double occupancy on rooms. The orientation sheet says every room is double occupancy, and that's what you should expect. Recruiters told me no, they're single occupancy. Those two things ended up being true. I forgot what other things I asked them about. They lied about the pay. I asked about the training period. And I'm about to get into that on their training requirements that they have here listed. Contradict what I was told. One of the reasons I went to USA Truck is because they don't do team driving. I do not want to do team driving for training, or ever, for anything. I don't ever, there's no amount of money you can give me to get me to do team driving. So I asked, what's the deal with the 28 days? Do I have to work up 4 hours, a minimum 4 hours per day to get credit for a day? What's the credit on the day thing? And they said, as long as I'm assigned to the truck, I get credit for that day, whether I log any hours or not. So even on a 34-hour restart, as long as I'm assigned on that truck, if I'm at home, taking time off, I don't get credit for those days. But if I'm on the truck, then I get credit for those days whether I drive or not. And I also asked about the team driving thing. I said, I'm not coming to your company if you do team training. And they said that they don't do team training. It's against their policy for the trainer to go into the sleeper while the student is driving. And a new thing that happened during orientation was that there was some 10,000 miles thing that popped up that said, in order for you to complete training, you have to do 10,000 miles. You have to drive 10,000 miles, not the truck. You have to drive 10,000 miles as a student to complete training. And that generally takes 28 days. If it takes longer than 28 days, then your training is going to last longer than 28 days. And I'm like, that is not what I was told. This is the first time I've ever heard 10,000 miles mentioned at all. So I asked Sheila, the senior driver manager, what's the deal with the 10,000 miles? I said, today is the first thing I've heard about that. And she told me that it's an either or, whichever comes first. If you get out there and you run hard and you knock out 10,000 miles of your miles, not the truck miles, of your miles driving, then you can get out of training before the 28 days. But if the 28 days comes first, then that happens. But it's whichever one comes first. It's an either or. You do not have to do 10,000 miles. Again, this contradicts the slide that they presented in orientation. I don't know which is true. She's a senior driver manager, but I didn't get that in writing. I don't know if, there was a lot of lies in orientation. So one of the people in orientation said that the recruiter told him, I might have mentioned this in a previous video, that he was going to get a newer model truck, a Kenworth. A newer model Kenworth. And he preferred an automatic, but he didn't. He said that he was promised an automatic, but he said that he didn't really care if it was a manual as long as it was a new truck. He didn't want to get one of the older trucks. And he was promised that there would be one available for him at the end of orientation, and he wouldn't have to travel to pick one up, or he wouldn't have to wait on one. Well, they only had 2 trucks available, and out of our original, we had originally 12 people in the class. One of the people left within the first hour or two. Some family issues, supposedly. Some people speculated that he wasn't going to be able to pass a drug test. I don't know. So 11 people, 4 of us were students. So they had to place 7 people in trucks, and they only had 2 trucks at that terminal. And there were a lot of people that had auto restrictions. I can't. I don't know. I would guess that out of the total class of 11, something like 7 people had auto restrictions. I don't know the exact number. They read off a list of names of 6 or 7 people and asked if those people had auto restrictions to verify that yes, they had auto restrictions. They said, "This is my list of people with auto restrictions. Is there anyone else that has an auto restriction that is not on this list, or if I called your name out, do you not have an auto restriction?" They were just verifying who had auto restrictions. And it was a list of 6 or 7 people. And then the guy that was promised the brand new Kenworth, that was an automatic, was not called out on that list, and that's when he brought it to their attention that he was promised an automatic. And the orientation person, Don, was just like, "I'm just asking who has the restriction. I don't, whatever recruiting, whatever promises they made you, that's between you and your recruiter." He said, "I didn't call you out for an auto restriction. Do you have an auto restriction?" He said, "No, I don't have an auto restriction, but I was promised an auto." So his name wasn't called out, but he didn't have an auto restriction. But yeah, there was one girl that's a student that was told she would be making 44 cents a mile. But whenever she signed her paper, she was making 40 cents a mile on her paper, just like I was. So there was just a massive amount of lies. There was some girl in there that said she had 5 years of driving experience, and she signed a paper saying she was going to start at 41 cents a mile. She was only getting a penny a mile more than a student driver. And she said she had 5 years of experience. She could have been lying. There was a lot of, the drivers were really bad about making up some BS stories. There were a lot of crazy claims. But, okay, here's what's got me salty right now. I'm reading through these training requirements. I just went over the 28 days. It doesn't say anything about 10,000 miles in the training requirements in here. It does have this. Candidates hired as students must complete a minimum of 28 days training behind the wheel, and it has that in quotations as if it is important. That means that you have to do 28 days where you actually drive, which contradicts what I was told, that it's 28 days of being on the truck. Whether I drive or not, I get credit as long as I'm on a truck. So that's a contradiction right there. Students are not allowed to drive between midnight and 4 a.m. unless the trainer is on duty and present in the right seat observing. This applies to each week of training. So throughout the entire course of training, I'm not allowed to drive between midnight and 4 a.m. unless the trainer is in the passenger seat. Okay. Well, if what I was told is correct, then the trainer should be in the passenger seat the entire time I'm driving, so that's a non-issue. But these next two things here contradict that. During the student's first 2,500 miles, again, they have it in quotes, behind the wheel, so my miles, not the truck miles, the trainer will be next to the student in the right seat observing and coaching anytime the student is driving. Total drive time between student and trainer shall not exceed 14 hours. So that is saying that for my first 2,500 miles, the program is going to operate the way I was told it's going to operate. After the student has completed 2,500 miles behind the wheel, again in quotes, the trainer and student will operate as a training team. That goes against everything I've been told. This is like bait and switch type shit, where I probably would not have chosen USA Truck if I would have been told all, the truth up front. If I was told everything up front, like I was going to have to wait 2 weeks to be placed with a trainer, I was going to have to team drive during training, I was going to have a mileage requirement on me of 10,000 miles, and all the rest of this stuff, this would have influenced my decision to go with USA Truck. And I still haven't been able to talk with them about the lease stuff to verify whether or not any of the information I was told about lease was true. Now that is really going to set me off if I find out that the lease stuff is not true, because this is just gut through stuff. This is like I'm not going to USA Truck to be a company driver. This is just crap that I have to do to get to a lease truck. Now, if I find out that they lied to me about the lease stuff, I'm going to lose my damn mind. Like, I'm already really, really salty right now about the number of lies. But, like, I'm going to send an email. Apparently, I'm supposed to be emailing my driver manager every day, even though I'm not assigned a driver manager. I'm supposed to email a driver manager every day while I'm waiting to be placed into a truck. But it says, unless you are told otherwise. I was told it was going to be a week and a half. I'm not sitting around like on call waiting for a trainer. I was told it was going to be next Friday at the earliest that I would get a trainer, and I was just going to be waiting at my house until then. So maybe that falls into the unless told otherwise clause. Now, come Friday, I'm going to call them up and ask them what the status is. I'm actually probably going to start calling them on Wednesday, asking what the status is, because I think the student is supposed to like get off the truck on Wednesday, and whether or not that happens on time, they should have a new ETA for me by Wednesday, knowing like what the status of the student is, when they're getting off the truck, and stuff like that. And their place on the load is going to factor into that as well. Like if like the student hits their home time thing while they're in Oklahoma City, let's say they're in Oklahoma City, and the student hits their home time objective, or they're in Tulsa or whatever. This guy basically goes between Dallas and Colorado, is from what I've told, back and forth between Dallas and Colorado, maybe sometimes into New Mexico. I don't know where all of what he does is, but if they're in the middle of a load and he doesn't have time to like divert over to drop him off somewhere, I mean, maybe he could drop him off at a truck stop and have an Uber take him over to get a rental car. I don't know how all that works, but if they're in the middle of a load, then maybe he's going to have to do an extra day or two on the truck after they hit their 28 days or 10,000 miles or whatever it is. I don't know what criteria they go by, because I've been told so many contradicting things. Then there may be a couple of extra days that the student spends on the truck, even though they've completed their time or their miles. Or maybe it comes down to it and the trainer says, yeah, he's just not ready to be out on his own. He needs another week or two of training, and they keep him on the truck for another couple weeks. Like, anything can happen. I don't know. I'm salty. Anyway, what are we at? We're at 18 minutes. This is just going to be a rant about USA Truck's lies. Like, so many lies. Like, I don't know if, like, the packet that they gave me, this is the packet that Sheila, the senior student driver manager, that's her title, gave me. And it has my name on here, my trainer's name, the trainer's tractor number. It does not have the trainer's phone number. She said that she gave my phone number to the trainer, but she didn't give me the trainer's phone number. It has 2 student driver managers listed, Bill Roberts and Greg Fan. I think that they're the only student driver managers. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been assigned to anybody yet. But it basically has all the student driver managers listed here. But that's the packet she gave me, and a lot of the information in there contradicts what I've been told. So I'm fairly salty. The team driving is a really big one. I don't want to team drive for training. It'll only be 3 weeks. I'm going to be pissed off, but I'll probably do it. And I'm just going to make really negative videos about USA Truck for the rest of the time I'm there, because I'm slowly just getting really escalated over USA Truck, just the number of lies that I've been told. I'm getting madder and madder and madder, and I'm just going to get more and more negative in these videos. I'm just going to be making rage videos before long about how crap this company is. I have every single person that I told I was thinking about going to USA Truck told me don't do it. One of the trainers at CDL University drove for USA Truck for years. I think he said he hadn't driven for them since like 2012 or something like that. But he told me not to go there. He said that is a terrible company. And everyone that I've mentioned USA Truck to has been like, man, they have a really bad reputation. You should not go there. I don't really know how to describe it. A lot of their stuff that they have written on their website or documented somewhere is negative stuff. It's like double occupancy to rooms, everybody's taking the Greyhound, things like that. But the recruiters are telling me that that's not true. It's rental cars and single occupancy rooms. Well, it ended up being what the recruiters said, not what was documented. But that's kind of the way everything's gone. Is there's almost always a contradiction between what I'm being told and what's written down, and I don't know which one is true. Now, I've been told by multiple people that there is no team driving during training. That is against their policy for the trainer to get into the sleeper while the student is driving. But that's not what this document says. So I don't know which one's true. I'm getting mad, though. I'm like, this is just, I don't know. I think USA Truck just needs to pull their head out of their ass is what needs to happen. This is a publicly traded company. This isn't some mom and pop, Bob and his wife Susie running a 10-fleet trucking company. They have entire departments dedicated to this shit. How incompetent do you have to be over something like this and have the documentation not be correct? Blatant lies in it. The website, the information on the website not being correct. Like, you have people that are just over that kind of stuff. It's unacceptable. And I'm getting really frustrated with this whole thing. This kind of stuff is the same crap that I dealt with last time in the trucking industry. It is just an industry of lies. And everybody's wanting you to do them a favor or cut them some slack, and that's never reciprocated. If you start doing people favors or cutting them slack in the trucking industry, you're just going to get taken advantage of. That's the way the industry works. No one is ever going to do that for you. So, one of the big things that I wanted to do when I got back into trucking was just lease and work off of a load board, so I wouldn't have to deal with dispatchers and their lies and their buddy system and their, go and move this trailer for me and I'll hook you up with a good load afterward. Stupid crap like that. I don't want to deal with that crap. That's one of the big reasons that I wanted to get back into leasing and working off of a load board. So I don't have to deal with drama. I don't have to deal with lies. I don't want to have to deal with people trying to manipulate me. So I'm going to have to deal with that crap. I've worked at USA Truck a total of 2 days. And it's been nothing but lies. I'm salty. I'm real salty right now. This was not the initial intent of this video. I was just going to give an update and say, yeah, I've been sitting on my butt doing a whole lot of nothing, since Tuesday. It's now Sunday. I've been, trying to find video games and that I, can stand to play. I screwed around with Path of Exile for a little bit. I think I'm already burnt out on that. And I've been thinking about breaking out NCAA 14. And, I've been watching some Netflix and some Disney Plus. The new Aladdin movie sucks. The trailers for it were awesome. I was really looking forward to the new Aladdin movie when I saw the trailer, because the music, the musical score, they remastered it, they redid it, and it sounded better. I don't even remember hearing that in the actual movie. The trailer and the movie were very different. I don't know if they used any actual footage from the movie in that trailer that I saw. The movie was crap. Like, the original cartoon Aladdin was probably 10 times better than the movie. The movie was junk. Not worth watching, in my opinion. If you saw the original, you're probably going to be disappointed, and it's not worth a watch. And but that was what this video was going to be. It was just me talking about sitting around doing nothing for, waiting on a trainer. And then I started skimming through this and looking at some other information. I was going to talk about some stuff that that I asked questions on in training or in orientation. And like I asked the maintenance person, what's the horsepower and gear ratio on your trucks? And he said all their trucks are between 400 and 410 horsepower and 2.64 gear ratio. They're designed for fuel economy, not designed for pulling. I think they're going to pull a little bit better than, the Swift trucks that I drove that were absolute garbage. But they're designed for fuel economy. The 2.64 gear ratio is there to make up for the low horsepower, and it's not high enough of a gear ratio. They should probably be at a 311 or something with that low of a horsepower to give it pulling power up a hill, but then it's not going to get very good fuel economy traveling at 65 miles an hour. So they're sacrificing pulling power on hills for fuel economy going 65 miles an hour. So these are probably going to be very frustrating to drive. Every little hill I go over, I'm probably going to drop 20, 30 miles per hour, and I'm going to get passed by people. And then, I'm probably going to end up, playing that little game where I'm, passing back and forth. Anyway, that's what this video was intended to be about, but I'm going to title it USA Truck and Their Lies. Because while I was sitting here reviewing this information on what I was going to talk about in this video, I started reading through this training document that the training manager gave me, and I'm just getting salty. I think I'm going to send an email tomorrow. It says that the trainers work 7:30 to 5 Central Time, Monday through Friday. So I'll probably send an email to them. I'll try to be nice about it. I'll try to calm down and not, just flip out on them. Because so far, that's one thing I will say. Even though I've been constantly lied to, everyone has been really nice. Everyone that I've dealt with at USA Truck has been really nice. No one has talked to me like I'm 12 years old, or flipped out on me, or told me if I didn't like it I could go work somewhere else or anything like that. Nobody's ever done that to me at USA Truck. So I don't know. I'm really mad right now. I probably shouldn't be making this video when I'm mad, because I'm ticked off. The number of lies are compiling. And then this team driving thing, that's a really, 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 really big one for me. That actually was a huge reason on the trucking company that I chose to go to. That was one of the reasons that I picked USA Truck over other trucking companies, was the team driving thing. In all honesty, if USA Truck would have told me that they were going to do team driving, I probably would have gone with Schneider. Schneider and USA Truck were neck and neck. Schneider and USA Truck are nearly identical in everything, except USA Truck is 6 months to get into a lease. Schneider requires 1 year. That's about the only difference between the two of them. And Schneider does not do team driving training. They actually do almost all of their training on site locally, and you only do a week out over the road during your training. You'd go out and do 1 or 2 loads. All the rest of your training is maneuvers on their site. So yeah, I would have probably gone to Schneider over USA Truck if they would have loaded. I'm just wanting to just explode right now and rant and rave and curse like crazy. And I'm trying to restrain myself as much as possible. Like, some of these lies are not too bad. It's more of the principle of it, like the pay. If they would have told me it was 40 cents a mile from the bat, I'd been like, awesome. It was 34 cents a mile when I checked in November, but they lied to me and they said it was 42 cents a mile. So I came there with the expectation it was 42. There were other people in the class that were students that were told it was 44. All of us got a piece of paper that said 40. We were all lied to. So it's the fact that they lied to me, not so much what the lie was on the pay. Because the pay was higher than I was expecting. But they lied to me about how high it was going to be. And then this is supposedly waiting on a trainer. This is supposedly a fluke. Like, this never happens, that we have to wait around on a trainer. This is supposedly the first time this has ever happened. I don't know how true that is, because that was apparently the same thing that happened to me in CDL school. It's the first time this ever happened, that we didn't have enough instructors. So I still paid the full price for CDL school, and I got this half-assed training where I was getting a different instructor every other day, and most of my training, we were officially under a trainee instructor that wasn't fully licensed and was brand new to the company. I think he'd only been there for like 2 or 3 weeks before we got there. He didn't know the system. But I still paid full price for that school. But that was supposedly a one-off. And now I get into orientation. It's supposedly a one-off that they don't have trainers available. And we're sitting around having to wait a couple of weeks for a trainer. This just delays everything. And it's more money that I have to dip into, because $600 a week is just not enough to pay my bills. So I'm having to dip into my money to be able to cover the difference. My normal salary is $1,200 a week. That was the job I was making before this. Now, I don't have to make $1,200 a week to pay all my bills, but to live the lifestyle I was living, I probably need to make about $1,000 a week minimum. $600 a week just doesn't cut it. So I'm having to dip into my savings every day that I'm sitting over here getting paid $85 a day. What does that come out to hourly if you figure out an 8 hour? It's not 8 hours in trucking. It's 11 to 14 hours a day that you're going to be working in trucking. So what is that? Is it 8 divided by... No, 8 divided by 85 would give me a percentage. So it would be 85 divided by 8. $10.62 an hour. Well, if you work your 14 hours a day, which is how many hours you can legally work, and that's generally how many hours you're going to work a day in trucking. No, wait. No. Clear. So it's 85 divided by 14 is $6.07 an hour. Wow. That's not even minimum wage that they're paying through training. There's a lot of companies that are being sued right now, trucking companies that are not paying minimum wage. Like, okay, I'm about to go off onto another rant about the trucking industry not having to follow the normal labor laws that every other industry has to follow. Well, almost every other industry. Oil and gas is another industry that gets, to not follow the rules on a lot of stuff. But they typically pay exceptionally well. The trucking industry doesn't. The trucking industry uses their exceptions to screw over the drivers. But I think I'll end the video there, and I'm just gonna label this USA Truck and Their Lies. I'm pissed right now. So yeah, I'm better in the video. I'm just gonna keep ranting. Bye.